Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Neighbor uses his leaf blower every morning at 7 a.m. How can I stop him? After that, am I the jerk for embarrassing my stepdad in front of his family, saying he's in my house? And after that, discipline me for being 22 seconds late without notice? Got it. Won't happen again. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to run her leaf blower at 7 a.m. Fine with me, I'll just mow the lawn instead. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Neighbor uses his leaf blower every morning at 7 a.m. How can I stop him? I've lived in this house for about 2 years now, and on my first day here, I had a weird interaction with my neighbor. He saw me walking down the street and asked, "Can I help you? Are you lost?" Literally the house right next to mine. I've tried to have friendly conversations, but the guy comes off as a major jerk. I was unemployed for a few months and asked him to jump my car. Every other sentence included the word job. Very obvious he wanted to know more about my life. Every time a car pulls up in my driveway, whether it be my mom or a friend, his whole family will be standing in the front door watching what's going on. One time I was in my backyard and they sent their daughter, who's probably about 6 to 8, to walk along the inside of my fence, and it was very obvious she was there to look at what I was doing and was probably told by her parents to do so. She just walked around the fence and went back inside. Didn't seem like she was looking for anything but me. Some weird nosy stuff. He also called the police twice on me in 2 weeks because my car was parked in the street. Didn't even say a word to me. But this still isn't the worst to me. The worst is the fact that he uses his leaf blower every morning around 7 to 8 a.m. He starts his leaf blower right outside my bedroom window and he leaf blows his cars and his driveway. Usually for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour and daily, if not multiple times a day. He leaf blew 5 different times yesterday. He will wait for it to stop raining and leaf blow the rain off of his cars and driveway. He sealed his driveway and spent over an hour trying to dry it with his leaf blower. All of 10 to 20 feet from my bedroom window, 8 a.m. on a Sunday. So, any ideas to tick him off? This leaf-blowing, nosy maniac is driving me crazy. I need him to get a taste of his own medicine. Been thinking about opening my bedroom window and playing loud music at night before noise ordinance since it faces his house. Just tired of this leaf blower man. Edit. Anyone know of a good quiet leaf blower? Some nice quality but quiet. Neighbor will be thrilled about his new leaf blower, and it will hopefully be a bit more quiet around here. A win for both of us. A better way to go about it. I just despise the sound of that awful constant leaf blower. Plant fruiting mulberry trees along the fence bordering his yard and driveway. Birds love the fruit, a little kind of bland blackberry. They make good jam, and they'll go to the bathroom purple everywhere. Cars and concrete included. They start fruiting pretty young too. Put up cameras. Put up really loud wind chimes, and if he is on or very near your property line, try motion-activated sprinklers. Check your local noise ordinance. He may be in violation using the leaf blower that early. If he is, then just start calling the cops on him. Or you could try talking to him. It may work. Some of these types need to feel like the good guy. Use I statements and no extreme language. These types can also be very overly sensitive. I'm a gardener, so my suggestion is plants. Put in whatever plants you'd like on your side that will get large and give you privacy. The plants help with some sound too, depending on how thick they are. A berry-type plant might be a lot of fun, but I'm sure any plants might upset him. But put up cameras, so if he destroys your plants, you can press charges. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you try to get revenge on your leaf-blowing neighbor or not? Please let us know. I'd blast some Metallica every time he uses it. Problem solved. Am I the jerk for embarrassing my stepdad in front of his family, saying he's in my house? For the past few months, I, 17, male, haven't had a good relationship with my mom or my stepdad. I'm angry at them because 2 years ago when my dad passed, he left me inheritance that I'm supposed to get on my 18th birthday. I'm also getting survivor's benefits that my mom uses for me when I need things, so it's not like she used this inheritance for me. They bought a house that we moved into. It was weird for me because we always lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. My stepdad is a substitute teacher and my mom's a part-time receptionist. They never even had enough to go for a vacation or something, but all of a sudden, they had enough for a large house out of nowhere. My mom looked guilty about it until she finally admitted they used some of what my dad left me to buy the house. I lost it. They tried to justify that it was for me too, and I asked them, does that mean they're moving out when I'm 18 and the house will be in my name? And they're like, no. That's what I thought. Supposedly the house was for me, but the max time that I would have lived there was for a few months. There's still some money left if I went to a cheap college, but still can't believe they used my money for something for themselves. That amount could have helped me get my own darn house. Also, think it's funny since my stepdad didn't like my dad because since I was spending more time with him, that meant my mom had to pay a little in child support. But he doesn't care using the money he left for me. Sorry if this is a bit of a rant, but where I'm asking if I was the jerk is last Sunday, his family all came to stay at the house. They stayed Friday night, so it was the next morning when I'm getting ready to go to work. I made myself eggs in a hurry. Before I left, my stepdad asked how come there wasn't more for his family, and I told him it's because I'm already leaving for work. There wasn't going to be time to make something for everyone. He acted like it's not a big deal if I'm a little late, since it's rare they have people over at the house. We go back and forth, because I'm not going to stop to make breakfast when he can do it himself. Then he pulled that, "Don't talk to me like that in my house." By the way, there's no door in the kitchen, and that leads right into the living room, so they could hear all of this. I said loudly, "Actually, it's my house, since you paid for it with my money, and don't forget you stole it from me." My mom is expecting me to apologize for embarrassing him in front of his whole family, because after I left, they all had something to say about it. They already went home by the time I got home, but you could feel the tension. He straight up ignored me. That's how bad it was. I don't feel like there's anything for me to apologize for, so that's where she thinks I'm not being a good son and kind of a jerk. I want to know if others feel the same. Not the jerk. I think you should talk to an estate lawyer, because if your dad structured his will properly, I would say your mother has misused funds put in trust for you for her own personal benefit. Don't pick a fight with your mom and stepdad over this until you have the facts. But I really do think you should have a professional review the situation and let you know what your options are. I hope OP sees this. He might be able to do something about the spent inheritance or get it back. Stealing from your kid. What jerks. Depending on how the dad set things up, this could also be criminal fraud, complete with a prison term. Don't go to an estate lawyer. Go to one who deals with breach of fiduciary responsibilities, specifically a litigator. Mom and stepdad most likely breached their duties as custodians of OP's funds. Bring the suit as soon as you turn 18, as there are time limits, statutes of limitations, involved. Not exactly my area, but I believe that in my state it is 1 year from when you turn 18. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his stepdad? Please let us know. I hope OP gets what's rightfully his. They had no right to spend his money on a house for themselves. Discipline me for being 22 seconds late without notice? Got it. Won't happen again. This happened several years ago because it was some malicious compliance that lasted for years. My former employer uses a points-based system to track attendance. The parts of the policy relevant to this story are: tardy with call-in prior to the start of shift, 1/2 point. Tardy with no call, 1 point. Accumulate enough points and you're fired. There's a set of train tracks crossing the street that leads to this facility. Occasionally, trains will stop while blocking this crossing. If you're caught there in the last few minutes before you're supposed to clock in, you have a decision to make: wait or go around. Either way, you might be late. Sometimes you'll decide to go around and then the train clears the crossing and the folks who waited get in before you. Sometimes you'll wait and watch through the gaps in the train cars as folks who went around pull into the parking lot while you're still idling at a blocked train crossing. To be clear, going around involves taking a lot of secondary county roads, as well as a few field access roads. It's an extremely rural area, so you literally never know what kind of road conditions you're going to find along the way around. One night during my years on third shift, I was stopped at these tracks and decided to wait. Eventually, the train moved on. I raced into the parking lot, used my key card to zip through the turnstiles, and ran to the punch clock. My clock-in time was 10:30 p.m. They have these biometric punch clocks that read your fingerprint to clock employees in and out. Sometimes these clocks just will not read your fingerprint. I got to the punch clock and it said 10:30. I'm golden. It doesn't track seconds. I entered my employee ID number and placed my finger on the sensor. 3 beeps. Failed read. Try again. 3 beeps. Tried once more. 3 beeps. Nope, not trying again because by this time the clock was likely to tick over to 10:31 in the middle of reading my finger. When I got to my assigned work area, I told my team manager what happened. He said don't worry about it, he'd manually punch me in. I should have listened, but I'm a warrior. In the morning, when the front office people started showing back up, I went to the attendance office to confirm that my situation was all good. The office administrator decided to check my gate time and use that as the determining factor. I scanned my key card at 10:30 and 22 seconds p.m. That's a tardy no call, one full attendance point to be issued. I reiterated that it was a train stopped on the tracks, completely beyond my control. She advised me to either leave earlier and just wait an extra half an hour for my shift to start on the majority of days, or else get a cell phone. I didn't have one at all back then, to call in with from the road next time. Well, what I did instead was start calling in absent, just in case something comes up after I leave home but before I arrive at work, in the evenings before leaving for work. The first few days, the attendance office up front was just bemused. After weeks, they became annoyed. After months, they had apparently complained enough and I finally got told to stop. During the course of this conversation, they revealed that calling in too early before the start of your shift made it extra challenging to make sure the notice gets to the right members of management, because the message is no longer flagged as new by the time they're creating logs for the next shift. This was great news for me. From then on, every morning before leaving the premises at the end of my shift, I used one of their phones to call in absent for my next shift that evening. They tried to write me up for insubordination, but the labor union slapped it down, pointing out that the collective bargaining agreement specifies the time we must call in by, but does not specify a time before which call-ins may not be made. Cue the huge grin across my face. I never forgot that my team manager tried to do me a solid though. If I was actually going to be late or absent for some reason, I would call that TM's desk line directly to let them know. Even long after I finally got a cell phone, I continued doing this. I'd just call in on my way home, instead of sticking around to use their phones after my shift. Found out years and years later from some union reps that upper management never got over this. Drove them nuts that they got beat at their own game by something so simple. It didn't bring the walls crumbling down, but it was a persistent, enduring source of frustration and impotence for them. And really, knowing you can manage all of that with just a 22-second phone call a day, that's the kind of thing that gets you out of bed in the evening. Edit. Probably the number one observation I'm seeing is that I should have just sucked it up and left earlier. I've commented this a couple times already, but so nobody has to dig for it. I usually left so early that I got to work before the 20 minutes prior to the start of our shifts that we were allowed to clock in. This stopped train event was a rare and unpredictable exception, but the crossing was regularly blocked for a few to several minutes by a moving train, not to mention all the other random stuff that could come up on your way to work. Am I the jerk for asking my stepdaughter to wake up 20 minutes early so she can make breakfast? My husband and I just had our last kid a month ago. He has two from a previous marriage, Paul, who's 23, male, and my stepdaughter, Maddie, who's 16. She lives with us full-time. We also had 4 kids ourselves, Jason, who's 7, Mia, who's 5, Lewis, who's 3, and our baby, Joshua. My stepdaughter isn't really that involved with me, but she's really close to her younger siblings. I've never asked something like this before. During my previous pregnancies, my husband was there to help me out since he had a more flexible schedule. But now he has a new job that requires him to be there at 6 a.m. minimum, when our kids mostly wake up at 7 to 7:30. Lately, I've been really tired since Joshua is a big crier, and I decided to take the long nights since my husband needs to sleep well or he might have an accident at his job. This has caused me to have big migraines because I sleep very little and I wake up to screaming kids running around. My stepdaughter is very chill. I take almost no care of her since she's pretty self-sufficient. During mornings, she prefers not to eat breakfast since most times it makes her feel dizzy throughout the day. So while she wakes up with the kids, she just stays in her room getting ready. Today, I pulled her aside and asked her if she could wake up 20 minutes early so that she could be making breakfast for the kids, and I'll wake up at 8 to take them all to school. This would give me one more hour to sleep and feel ready for the day. She said no because her siblings are pretty energetic and she doesn't feel she can take care of them or get Lewis to eat all of his food. And it also means that she has to make sure Jason and Mia are ready for school, make sure they're dressed, and make sure everything is in their bags so I can just grab them and take them. I tried to explain how I've been feeling really bad because I'm not sleeping well, and she just shrugged and said, "I said no, I'm not their mom. Ask dad to help you or get a babysitter. I also stay up until late doing homework, but I'm not asking you to make me breakfast every day or drive me to school." And she left. I texted my husband what happened, and I mentioned how I would like if we could convince her, but he said I was the jerk and that Maddie was right. We spoke on the phone and he sounded pretty mad. He said I better not ask her again and that he'll take the rest of the nights with Joshua before I should have asked him before. I'm confused. I only asked her to help and wake up 20 minutes early. She lives with us after all, so I don't know why it's that big of a deal. You're the jerk. Your stepdaughter was 100% correct. You are the parent. She is not. She isn't just making breakfast. You're asking her to do the full morning routine for all of her siblings. Totally not okay. You're the jerk. She didn't ask the daughter to heat up a breakfast casserole she had pre-made or throw something in the toaster. She asked her to do everything to get all those kids ready to go in the morning, feed them, get all their stuff ready. She knew it would all fall to her. And the daughter came up with the very real concerns that were completely brushed off. She's a kid you're responsible for too. Seriously, if it's no big deal, surely she can do it. It's understandable that handling a bunch of goblins is exhausting, but gaslighting it as a no big deal, while she herself finds it such a big deal she can't do it anymore? Major jerk. Get up and get your kids ready in the morning and drop them off at school. Nap when the baby naps and give up other household chores you do in the day to prioritize sleep. Let your husband pick up the household slack at night at home. I agree that OP is the jerk and trying to parentify her stepdaughter. But also, when I was exhausted with a newborn, I was ready to punch anyone who said, "Sleep when the baby sleeps," like that was a solution that I had never heard before. It's hard to fall asleep during the day with new mom hormones, and if you do manage to fall asleep, it can feel worse and groggier than if you don't nap. You're the jerk. Maddie just described a whole lot more going on that you expected her to do other than just getting up and making breakfast. Even then, you should have talked to your husband first and not pressed it. Why do people have more kids than they can handle and then always complain about it when the teenagers don't want to help enough? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her stepdaughter? Please let us know. I'm so glad we don't have a bunch of goblins running around here, Reddit boy. Am I the jerk for taking the only two-seat table in the restaurant all to myself? I, 35 female, have given up on dating but still enjoy date activities. So once a month, I take myself out on a date. I go out to the movies, museums, and even mini golf by myself. And I always treat myself to a nice lunch or dinner around 3 to 4 p.m. after the lunch rush but before the dinner rush, so I have plenty of time to enjoy my food. For my self-dates, I always look for a new restaurant to try. Saturday, I found this great little Mediterranean place. It's a real gem, hidden away at the end of a strip mall, with murals on the walls, lovely guitar music, and only about 7 tables total. When I got there, only one other table was occupied, and I sat in the only two-seater table. The waiter got me my drink, and I had just put in my order when a couple walked in. They looked around the small restaurant, saw me at the only two-seat table, and approached the waiter. I was on my Kindle and not paying attention until I heard the waiter say, "There are plenty of other tables." They whisper-argued for another minute before I heard the man say, "She won't take that long to eat. She's all alone." The woman huffed, and they sat at the 4-seat table right next to me. They ordered waters and loudly said that they were still deciding what they wanted, but were clearly stalling because they looked right at me as she said it. I chose to ignore it. When I treat myself to self-dates, I go all out and order an appetizer, soup, salad, and entree. My appetizer came out, and I clearly heard the man say, "See, it's just a small meal. She'll be gone soon." I didn't think anything and just enjoyed my food. When I finished, the woman grabbed her purse like she was about to dash to my table before someone else came in, only for the waiter to bring out my soup. I took my time eating the soup as the waiter again asked the couple if they're ready to order. The woman said they're still deciding and needed water refills. Then my entree came out. As soon as they saw it, the woman said, "Are you kidding me?" The food was amazing, and even though I knew they were waiting for my table, I took my time appreciating my meal. Halfway through, the waiter again asked them if they were ready. The man said he was starving and ordered. The woman was clearly not happy, but also ordered. I was tempted to order dessert too, but I was stuffed. I paid my check, and as I was leaving, I saw the couple moving their plates over to my table, which hadn't even been cleared off yet. At the time, I thought it was hilarious, but when I told my friends about it, they said I had been the jerk. They said restaurants like that were for couples on dates, not single people, and that it wouldn't have been a big deal for me to move or gotten takeout and eaten at home. I said it was 4 p.m., not prime date time, and that there were 5 other tables to pick from, but they said I'd taken the most romantic table and ruined their date for my own enjoyment. Now I'm not sure, and I'm asking the internet for an impartial judgment. Not the jerk. You took the smallest table available, which happened to be a 2-seat table. What would anyone expect you to do except exactly that? It's complete nonsense. So single people can't enjoy a nice meal now? They have to get takeout and hide in their homes to make space for those on dates? Also, even if you went at peak hours, it still wouldn't matter. OP is a paying customer, has just as much right to be there as anyone else. Not the jerk. I've been that single person dining at peak times. When your work finishes at 7 p.m., you can't really avoid it. You don't have to get nasty looks from groups because you're seated quicker, because a 2-seat opened up before a larger table did. I can't speak for everyone in the industry, but I'm a busser and I love single-person tables. They're always so easy to clean and typically are super polite too. That's funny to hear, because when I eat somewhere alone, I always feel like I get really good service. Fast refills before I even realize I need them, extra friendly, maybe extra bread and butter, etc. And it's certainly not because anyone is flirting or anything like that. Maybe they feel sorry for me. Not the jerk, your friends are wrong. Restaurants are for people to order food and eat food, not just for people going on dates. The way the lady acted was ridiculous. Not the jerk. Most places don't even have one-person tables. It's more of a jerk move to occupy a 4-seater as a singleton unless there are no other options than a 2-seater. It's not your fault that they wanted your table and didn't even have the courtesy to ask you directly if you wouldn't mind moving. Am I the jerk for not dressing up for my sister's Harry Potter wedding? Things between my sister, who's 25, and I, 27 female, have always been just a little bit strained. We've just been very different people at pretty much every point in our lives, and we've never been super close, which is fine. Things are pretty cordial most of the time, except for a few times we really struggle to see eye to eye. This is one of them. Anyway, my sister got engaged a few months ago. It was good news. I like her fiancé, and I was very happy for her. She asked me to be one of her bridesmaids, and I accepted, and have since been talking with her and the other bridesmaids making preparations. She's a big Harry Potter fan and wanted to make the wedding Harry Potter themed. Not my thing, but I didn't think she would go crazy with it. All had been going well for a while. Ending that vibe, my sister recently told us that the bridesmaids would have to dress up like certain Harry Potter characters. We'd still be wearing dresses, but they'd be styled after the Harry Potter characters, and we'd have to do our makeup to resemble the characters as well, or something like that. And I really did not like that idea. Everyone else didn't really seem to respond to it, so I myself said that I didn't want to do that. It turned into a huge spat with my sister, and when I mentioned that I didn't want to be a bridesmaid if it meant buying a dress I didn't want and not getting to even look like myself, she dropped another bombshell on me. She wanted all of the guests to wear one of a few different dresses or suits, in red, green, blue, or yellow, of course, in order to make the wedding feel truly, completely magical. I found this completely ridiculous and told her as such. That even though this was her wedding, expecting every guest to dress up a certain way was ridiculous. We fought until I just left, and now both her and my parents are blowing up my phone. I don't think I even want to go anymore, let alone be a bridesmaid. I find this ridiculous. Was I the jerk for telling her that this was not a reasonable thing to ask of someone, bridesmaids or guests? Not the jerk. Your sister wants a themed wedding, that's okay. You don't want to dress up for a theme wedding. That's okay too. Agree. It's okay for sister to want this. OP doesn't have to do this if she doesn't want to. Though I will say that if it were me, unless it were something offensive, I'd just get over myself and do it. Especially since it's not like OP is going to be the only one in a costume. Everyone will be that way. Edit. No, J.K. Rowling being offensive to some people doesn't apply here, because if that was even remotely a reason for OP not wanting to do this, she would have mentioned it somewhere in her post, and she didn't. Your personal offense to J.K. Rowling is irrelevant here. You're the jerk. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. It's really typical for bridesmaids to pay for and wear the dress the bride chooses. It's also fairly common to ask guests to dress in certain colors. Having a few very common color options is not a huge imposition. It's not your wedding, and these are not huge asks. Stop giving your opinion. Look, my sister is a huge Harry Potter fan, like the biggest fan. If she ever gets married, she'll have a Harry Potter wedding, and I shall briefly sigh when I look at the outfit I need to wear, but then picture her smile as she sees her loved ones supporting her in the way she's asked us to. Go support your sister and wear the outfit. You're the jerk. A friend dressed us up like deranged garden fairies as bridesmaids for her wedding. There were long beaded ribbons hanging off the massive artificial flower wreaths on our heads. The dresses were insane. We had badly made ribbon chokers with satin roses on the throat. The entire thing was a nightmare. We did it all because it was her wedding, not ours. You rarely get to choose the dress when in a wedding party. I've had brides dictate nail polish color and cry because a pair of shoes weren't shiny enough. And you roll with it because it's not your wedding. You're the jerk. Not the jerk. Listen, I was thinking you were the jerk about this until you mentioned that you'll have to dress up like a Harry Potter character and not just be yourself, but dressed in wizard clothes. Your sister doesn't just want a Harry Potter themed wedding. She wants a wedding with the Harry Potter characters as attendants and not you and the other bridesmaids and groomsmen. She wants this fantasy world where those characters are celebrating her wedding, but not her actual family and friends, and I think that's insulting. If she toned things down a bit and said, okay, just pick a Hogwarts house and you'll wear a robe and suit or dress in their colors, I wouldn't have a big problem with that. But she wants you to be Luna Lovegood or Cho Chang or Professor McGonagall attending her wedding and not you, her sister. And that's where I changed my vote. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her sister who's getting married? Please let us know. Why would anybody want to have a Harry Potter themed wedding when you could have a Star Wars themed wedding instead? Would I be the jerk if I stopped spending time at my in-laws' house because I can't stand being around my brother-in-law's wife? We've got my sister-in-law, who's 29, my brother-in-law, who's 29, my younger sister-in-law, we've got me, 34 female, and my husband, 33 male. My sister-in-law, brother-in-law's wife, can be a bit rough to be around. My relationship with her has been very up and down. She's been with my brother-in-law for over 10 years, married for one, and they live at my in-laws' house. She has a habit of competing with all of my husband's ex-girlfriends, and now for me for some strange reason. My husband and I have been together 5 years, married for 2, and have our own house. Our issues go back to when my husband proposed to me. I found out she insisted he didn't propose until after her wedding, which was going to be an over-the-top, fancy, expensive wedding in 2020. Luckily, he didn't listen and proposed in December of 2018. When we announced our engagement that Christmas Eve, she stormed off, slammed her door, and proceeded to make sure it was known she was angry. My husband and I decided to have a smaller wedding, and we chose to not have our fall wedding that we wanted, so she wouldn't flip out again about anniversary dates being close together. When we announced our wedding date, August 2019, she flipped out again and would make sure we couldn't plan our wedding around her because now we're robbing her of being the first one married into the family. She calmed down after our wedding and we started mending our relationship, but she still would attempt to one-up me on everything, including the crappy things that have happened in our lives. Well, my husband and I just found out that we're pregnant and we were so excited to tell our family early to make sure if something does go wrong in the early stages, we have our support system as we're very close to his family. We chose to tell his parents in private and wanted to tell the siblings, including the sister-in-law, at the same time. When we did, she stormed off and my brother-in-law and younger sister-in-law barely said a word because they were scared of offending her. In my mind, my sister-in-law has now robbed the joy of all of our big moments due to her feeling entitled to be first. And I really don't want the added stress of trying not to speak of our bun in the oven around her on top of going through my first pregnancy. She said in front of my husband how she has now been robbed of everything in her life. I've tried so hard with her and have spoken to her many times about how it's not a competition and I just want us to be a family and go through life together, and she agreed. Would I be the jerk if I just removed myself from her presence for at least the duration of my pregnancy? My husband and brother-in-law are very close. Update. My husband spoke to my father-in-law and let him know what's going on and that he will be speaking to my brother-in-law before the weekend to let him know that his wife is no longer welcome in our home and why, and that I can no longer be in her presence for my own well-being and our bun's well-being. Not the jerk. Hopefully she will be able to claim the first divorce. I think she's in love with your husband for causing trouble for all of his exes and now you, and all joyous moments with your husband. Keep your distance from her. Also, ask your husband if he ever at some point did have a thing with her. OP. He definitely didn't. She was dating their cousin and left their cousin to be with my brother-in-law. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her sister-in-law? Please let us know.
Nothing worse than having a Karen in your family that you just can't get away from. Isn't that right, Reddit boy?
Karen tries to make me do yoga. Our family has Pancake Sundays, which is where our house gets together for a sit-down family breakfast with my mom's infamous pancakes. As you would expect, I'm always down for it. Love family time, love pancakes. My family is also very active and athletic, and usually does a workout or yoga in the mornings. However, I'm not a very athletic or active person, and because I hate being compared to the rest of my family, I hate feeling weak while they exercise. I usually don't work out with them. Last week, I did do yoga though, because my mom asked and it was Mother's Day. This week, my mom said I wasn't allowed pancakes unless I did yoga with them again. I said that was fine. I still wasn't going to do the yoga, but was a bit upset that she was trying to force me to do something I didn't want to do. In the morning, my sisters kept texting me for me to come to breakfast, but I didn't really want to because watching everyone else enjoy pancakes while I didn't wasn't super appealing to me. Finally, I went up because I didn't really want to miss family breakfast, only to see that my mom made my favorite crepe pancakes that she only makes for birthdays, along with fruit and whipped cream. Take note that I had told Mom that I missed her crepes a few times, but she waited until I couldn't eat them to make them. I really didn't want to watch everyone else enjoy the food while I couldn't, and was getting upset that she tried to go out of her way to punish me for not working out with her, and I didn't want to be around my family when I was getting upset like that. So I went to go downstairs. My stepdad stopped me and in front of the whole family told me off for not wanting to spend time with my family, for not contributing to the family, for my mom always having to push me to do anything. I didn't really say anything. I've been taught not to talk back to my parents, but I can't help but feel upset. I take walks with my mom and sister whenever she asks. It's only been a couple of times in the past year of lockdown that I said I didn't want to go. Whenever the lawn needs to be mowed or they need help, I'm always the one they ask. My other siblings comparatively don't help out as much, and yet I'm always the one who gets criticized. I feel ridiculous for getting so upset over something so stupid, and I don't want to face them right now because I honestly can't tell if I'm in the right or not. Also, to be clear, it's not a weight thing. I'm not overweight or super unhealthy. I just don't like working out in the mornings.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.